One of the first things you may notice when your vehicle has an issue is a puddle on the ground. Now, is it just water from the AC or is it an actual issue? Looking at these puddles, you almost can't tell the difference. Well, a good way to check that is to take a tissue and dip it in. That's clear, that's just from the AC. Our vehicle here, if you dip it in there, it's obviously pink. We have a coolant issue. Let's check it out. Another thing you may notice with a coolant issue is the coolant reservoir is low or almost empty. Now you shouldn't have to top this off regularly. If it's low and then you top it off and then you check it again and it's low again, there's some issue. The coolant's got to be going somewhere. And if the coolant level gets even lower, it's going to affect your heat. The heater core is slightly above the engine on most vehicles, so you're going to get air pockets. Because of those air pockets, it's not going to be able to heat up the heater core, and when you're driving down the road, you're not going to have any heat. Maybe if you accelerate, you're going to get a little blast of heat for a short period of time, and then it gets cold again. So if you just add some coolant, you'll get your heat back, but you got to find out where it's going. Even worse, when the coolant gets really low, you're going to affect the engine. It's going to overheat. You could potentially break down. You'll notice the temperature gauge up in the red, and that's not good. You don't want to cause more internal engine damage. Two common areas where you might have a coolant leak is your radiator or your water pump. And if you have issues with either of these, you can get your parts at 1aauto.com. And you can watch the how-to videos to help you get your car back on the road. Based on where the puddle is on the ground might help you determine what is leaking in your vehicle. In the front is where the radiator is, so if you have coolant up front, take a look at that. On this vehicle, the water pump's in the front of the engine, so if you see it more on the passenger side to this side of the engine bay, that could be the water pump leaking. To get a better idea of where the coolant leak is coming from on this vehicle, we're going to pressurize the system. That way, we'll actually see coolant coming out wherever the leak is. On the coolant cap itself, it actually says the pressure, so you don't want to exceed the pressure that's on the cap. For this cap, it says 20 psi. Normally, they're around 15 psi, so if you go right around 15 psi, you should be good. Now, looking at the front of the engine, we can actually see where the drip is coming from, and it's located on the water pump in our case. So if you just look around and see where you can see a drip, sometimes it's going to drip worse than this. Sometimes it'll actually be pouring out, but we got a good sized drip right there. Sometimes you can see a little bit of moisture. There's evidence of where the coolant was. But pressurizing the system makes it that much easier to find. You can see on the old water pump where there's a lot of dirt and debris. That's because the coolant has leaked out and it's collecting dirt in that area. Where it's clean, like over in this area, that's because it's pouring out and it's kind of washing away any of the dirt and debris. It also will drip on the back side of the pulley, and that's going to spread the coolant out further that way. But that's where you can see it. A lot of times the seals on the inside here are going to leak, and then it's going to come through this freeze plug right here. There's a little area up there where it's going to fill up and start pouring out of that area when these start leaking. It's that easy. You can figure this out and do your own repair. This isn't something you want to ignore, or you're going to have issues down the road.